Okay, guys, I'm here today with Gordon Ryan. A huge honor for me as always. Guys, Gordon just finished showing his newest instruction, the supine guard. That's the open guard with the back on the ground. So the last instruction he did was the seated open guard, and was one of the best set instructions at BJJ Fanatics. Was one of the best videos we ever had. And today he's gonna show us here one of the moves that he showed in his instructor. That's the difference between the berimbolo no gi to the berimbolo with gi. So I'm wearing the top part of the gi here, and I'm excited to see this difference. Let's do it, Gordon.
All right, so there's many differences. We can start getting into how you hide your legs and things like that, but it's just gonna take way too long. That's in the instructional. All right, but one of the main differences as far as positional attacks with your partner is when I go to attack my partner's back with the gi, it's very easy to create upper back exposure. Okay, you have to learn to determine whether you're going in and looking to get lower back exposure or upper back exposure first, or if you eventually have to obviously do both. Okay, whenever I attack a berimbolo with the gi, it's easy to create upper back exposure. Okay, if I can create upper back exposure with the berimbolo, I can take my partner's back. Okay? It's easy to create lower back exposure, but it's hard to create upper back exposure. With the gi, I have the luxury of being able to grab either his belt, which some players like to use, or straight collar or a cross collar. Because I have a hold of the fabric of the gi, it's easy to create upper back exposure. Okay, so for example, if we both sit, if I go into your typical berimbolo, I grab Bernardo's gi like so. As I start the motion into a berimbolo, I have control of his upper body. So as I start to invert underneath Bernardo like so, I get my knee behind his. Notice I still have this gi grip. So when Bernardo goes to put his upper back on the floor and move out and away from me, it's very easy for me to grab his gi pants like so and start to move Bernardo into a position where now I can control his upper back. When he goes to scoot his shoulders away from me, try to move out towards the wall, he can't because I have control of his gi. When he goes to move out towards the wall now and I don't have control of his gi, he can scoot away and now he can easily get away from me. Okay? So when I start this motion, going into a berimbolo, I have the luxury of controlling Bernardo's upper body in some way, either with a belt grip, a collar grip, or a cross collar grip. So as I go to start going in and hitting this berimbolo, I can easily start to create upper back exposure, where now Bernardo's lower back and upper back are both exposed. So as he goes to start moving away from me, it's easy to start moving him down the floor into positions where we can go in and start to attack his back. Okay? So that's a berimbolo with the gi. Now, let's contrast that where Bernardo takes the gi off, and now we have to go in. When I try to go into a berimbolo without the gi, now the issue is, how can I create upper back exposure? It's easy to create lower back exposure. So when I go, I initially go in this time, instead of using a collar grip, I'm just going to use a tight waist like so. I start to invert, and now from here, I have easy lower back exposure, where now Bernardo's lower back is off the floor. But if Bernardo insists on keeping his two shoulders glued to the mat, it's hard now for me to get any kind of upper back exposure, because I do not have the luxury of being able to control his upper body through that lapel grip. So what does this mean for us? When you do berimbolos with the gi, it's your choice whether you choose to enter into your partner's legs, sweep them to bottom position, or attack their back. Okay? Because you can always create some degree of upper back exposure because of the connection you have to their upper body. Without the gi, this is very different, because now he determines where he puts his upper back. So there's multiple things that can happen. One, Bernardo fights the top position, which means he tries not to get swept and he keeps his shoulders off the floor, and he himself creates upper back exposure. Where I start to go berimbolo and Bernardo tries to come up on top of me, or now from here, we can go in various ways, and now there's upper back exposure where I can go out and start to take his back. So he tries to stay on top of me and takes his own back off the floor. Okay? If that happens, then you can easily go into a back take and go in for berimbolos if he determines he takes his back off the floor. But if I go into a berimbolo And Bernardo now keeps his lower back, or his upper back rather, on the floor. So I go in and he glues his back to the floor. Now, that's his choice. I can't pull his upper back off the floor. If we were in the gi, he has no choice. I can always pull his upper back off the floor to some degree, okay? But in this situation, it's different. Now, instead of having the choice between taking his back, going into his legs, or sweeping him, you only have two choices now. You can sweep him to top position, or more favorably sometimes, especially with leg locks allowed, and in submission only, we can go in, we can enter into his legs, okay? So without the gi, with Berimbolos, you're looking for mostly sweeps or attacks in the legs, all right? If your opponent tries to base out and not get swept, and they create upper back exposure for themselves by taking their back off the floor, then by all means take their back. But you can't force that. In the gi, you can force that because of the upper body grip of the lapel. You can always force some kind of upper back exposure. But without the gi, you can't. So look mostly to go into sweeps or attacks on your partner's legs because you don't have the luxury of controlling that collar grip to create that upper back exposure.
So, Gordon, I was just picturing here, like, who likes to do the Berimbolo no gi, but doesn't have a good leg attack? So they leave a lot of opportunities on the table, right? Because I can see like how you mix the going to the Berimbolo with like you either go to the back or you go to the leg attacks, right?
Yeah, because there's so many IBJJF guys that do Berimbolos really well. They don't really see those guys doing, you don't really see submission only guys, too many submission only guys or guys in ADCC doing Berimbolos. It's mostly either lightweight guys or mostly wrestling in ADCC especially. So you have a lot of guys who are very good under the IBJJF rule set doing Berimbolos mostly, but heel hooks aren't allowed. Okay, it's mostly in the gi. So this is just a nice interface between doing Berimbolos and chaining leg locks in with those attacks.
Yeah. So Gord, can you show one more time the one that you go to the leg attacks? Man, that was very nice.
Yeah. So we come in now. We go in with the Berimbolo. Now we can play here or we can play here. This is a whole different can of worms here. Okay, here obviously there's some leg exposure for he can attack my legs, but you can play either or. All right, now as I go to look to invert, instead of going in for a collar, I just go in and look to take a tight waist on Bernardo's far hip. Now from here, as always, we get our knee behind Bernardo's knee like so. Where now, let's just move out a little bit that way. So it doesn't work enough.
New direction?
Yeah. So now Bernardo has a choice. If Bernardo tries to get up on top of me, now he can always come in, and now he can create upper back exposure. Or now, even if he goes to put his back on the floor, his elbow can't get to the ground, and now there's at least some degree of upper back exposure where we can look to start coming out and sitting him up and taking his back. If, on the other hand, Bernardo knows that, okay, if he goes to come on top, he's gonna get his back taken. So what does he do? He feels the inversion and he throws his back to the floor. Okay, whenever I see this and I can't get that upper back exposure, I have one leg in and one shin behind his knee. Now from here, we're gonna make a pass off, where our left hand moves from the ankle to a scoop grip on Bernardo's leg like so. Now what I have to make sure of is I'm not naive, I don't sit up and he throws his leg around and triangles me. That's no good. I always make sure when we come in, we keep our head glued to our partner's, our ear, glued to our partner's leg like so. We put a wedge inside of our partner's far leg. So now as he goes to triangle me, it's difficult for him to move. Now from here, we just invert our knee. We slide our right knee up like so. And now, even when he goes to scoot out and away from me, this scoop grip will always pull him back in so we can put our legs across. Now we can go into all of our favorite leg attacks, or we can heist up and go into guard passes from here with any attacks that you want.
Man, that's amazing. So we went from the leg attacks to your best passes pretty much.
Yep.
Man, that's amazing. Yeah. So guys, Gordon just shot this entire instructional all about the supine guard. That's when he has his back on the ground. So it's not about the sitting guard. It's all with the back on the ground. And I think like no gi, you will find yourself doing the seated guard, but you will always find yourself with your back on the ground as well. So I love how one series complement the other. And it's going to be at BJJFanatics.com soon. So make sure to check that out. And maybe by the time you're watching, it's already there. So thank you, Gordon.
Thank you.
Awesome. Please help me out to grow my YouTube channel. Just click subscribe. And to watch more videos, just click under see more videos. I hope you enjoyed.
BJJFanatics.com. Use the promo code YouTubeFaria to get 10% off any instructional video. Improve your jiu-jitsu faster.